Sometimes I just forget about the book channel. You know, I've always thought of myself as an artist, and while I've been working on this channel, I've been a content maker. I mean, I'm still an artist, and it actually helps me think about my art, but this idea is just so anti-commercial. It's really just like it's kind of an experiment of just putting like some kind of really raw work out there. Like, there's no editing done on these videos of any sort. I think they're thoroughly Dogma 95. If I were to put them together in a movie, that Dogma 95 being the very strict Lars von Trier and other severe Norwegian filmmakers, etc. Their strict rule for making lo-fi movies, set of rules. And almost no Dogma 95 movies follow it perfectly. I honestly think that should have been codified as an additional rule. That's how I feel about preservationists sometimes. I'm like musical preservationists. Like, there's like this reverence for the original instruments and so on that like really is respectable and interesting, but it's also like refusing to live, you know? Music exactly as it is today is music that's constantly reinventing itself. Spent all day working at an elementary school in a clerical job. The people are really nice, and it was pleasant. But it's like a totally different part of town. I mean, it's way out there. It's right by one of the volcanoes. Right by the petroglyphs. Totally different part of town. The treeless half of town. Very beautiful, though. I refuse to get in the debates about which side is better. It just feels like a very different sort of town to me than the one I know for the most part, the west side of Albuquerque. But the volcanoes are a part of what I love about Albuquerque. It's crazy. We're like the most volcanic city anywhere. There's like 60 volcanoes within an hour of here, and literally. And the Rio Grande Rift goes right through and alongside one side of this valley. And there's a line of 5 cinder cone volcanoes out there that mark the western edge of the town. Pretty cool. I've always loved that. I've always considered one side of town's terminus to be Vulcan Volcano's Peak, the highest volcano on the west side, and then the other side to be Sandia Peak. And I think that's cool, to live in a city in a river valley between volcanoes and mountains. That's what I love about Albuquerque, with a cottonwood forest winding like a river right through alongside 2 sides of a river right through the middle, like rivers. The bosque, sadly, it's not doing great, but I mean, it looks okay, but there's invasive species taking it over all the time, and the cottonwoods are really suffering from not having their roots watered at critical times because of the water being allotted from the river. Okay, we were looking at kids' books. Life is crazy. It's just crazy. I'm sure this channel would have way more followers if I just talked candidly about everything that ever happened in my life. But that's what my memoir's for. There's really a high chance of my own children and students of mine that I have to interact with seeing this channel, and so I want to keep it kind of on the level of something that could be theoretically used as like a classroom material if it was for some sort of vague time-filling class and not for anything in particular. If you needed to make the point that a relationship with literature and a love of literature could be both cool and fun and fulfilling and worthwhile. I think that's maybe, if this channel shows anything, it does show, as the description of the channel promises, a glimpse of the world of literature, English language literature, or what's available in English, in the year 2025. In the year 2025. And, you know, I need to watch somebody else's like whole book collection. There's got to be somebody else that's done this on YouTube, go through all their books. That Leafy Conscious, has he done it? And I bet like Anna Wallace Johnson has, but she's only got like 75 books that she has on a single vertical shelf. I think there's a few thousand here in my collection still. What's funny is my collection like never stops growing, but I'm never quitting meditating on what the point of it is. What is the point of owning more books than you can read? What is the point of a home library? I think uncertain times and changing political climates and stuff are a reason to have books You know, just the uncertainties of life and the world, you know. People should have access to books, and through this collection, a small group of people that are in my life do, I guess. Pretty much everyone I know gets books from my collection. I'm always giving books to people if I'm reminded of the books by who they are. Now I'm reading the Henry James collection for the Paperback Project. Last night I fell asleep reading this after I realized I had it. I had just read this 6 Characters in Search of an Author and Other Plays, or just the 6 Characters in Search of an Author in the Paperback Project. But I guess it speaks to the quality of that when I saw I had this, I immediately wanted to read it. I'm like, oh, well, I'm kind of feeling the Pirandello vibes right now, so I'm going to read this. So I started reading the introduction last night. It was pretty good, but I'm sad to report there's water damage on this whole corner of this book. What? See, that's one thing that I really heavily took out of the purge, was any books that were damaged, you know, that, like, I was really kind of rude to damaged books. Even books that I had personally marked up, I was like, you know what, I want a nicer collection. I had to get rid of a lot of that collection. I was moving from a house to a storage unit at the time. Not sure if I'm feeling this new sticker on the electric pencil sharpener. Is it too creepy to just have a look at me all the time? And I just got this in the mail. I read something from this and I was very impressed. And I had met the author, so I was like, I'm getting that book. That is a kind of book I will buy in the mail once in a while, is poetry. I know the author's brother who works at the high school I've been working at. I just met her the other day. She's been very nice, very cool. Then I read a poem of hers online, and that's why I got it. I always, like, I don't know, if my friends have books, I'll usually get them. People I meet, etc. But I'm going to finish reading this pretty soon here, I think. I don't know if I'm going to read the one I just read again. I want to see if the translation is really different. I should probably just read them all. It's just a short play. Look at this cool case I got for $20. Or maybe I've shown it already. But I like it. I think I want things that'll kind of visually pop more, though. It's a Wunderkammer, Wonder Cabinet, like in days of yore. My friend Lisa says that my descriptions of the videos should match up with the beginnings of videos so people don't feel ripped off and they stay watching. That's probably good advice, but pretty much most of my videos begin with 10 minutes of just rambling about whatever. But I kind of thought of a funny new idea. I was like, what if I did an anti-YouTube channel where, like, I really try not to have people follow it? I mean, everyone that follows it already, I won't try to chase everybody away by being horrible or anything, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, anytime I see the numbers climb, I'll just be like, Because what I really want is to toil in obscurity. I don't want thousands and thousands. I mean, I don't know. This is just some sort of weird, subtle brand building or something, I guess. What I really care about in my life is the book I've been working on forever. Front, spine, and back cover in progress. Part of it. But I've been working on this for 15 years. And my brother, who writes young adult fantasy as Obert Sky, he very chillingly told me not too long ago that a publicist told him, or his publicist told him that nobody gets a book contract anymore unless they have a social media following. What? Well, and then that famous federal trial involving the publishing industry revealed that basically nothing is spent on advertising and PR by the industry. What? And that many books, a horrifying percentage that I immediately repressed, sells fewer than like a dozen copies. So by that metric, my brother's had a really great career, because I think he's sold millions of copies, like this Love and Thump series in particular, but he's always kind of simmered. It's like Big Head Todd and the Monsters went platinum for their first famous album without ever charting. And that's the kind of stuff that makes industries really look up. And my brother really did, because he's published by many different publishers now, and publishers were like, who's this guy that's selling a bunch of books for Shadow Mountain? And in part it's because he invented this incredible promotional template of going to a town, giving genuinely positive and uplifting speeches about other things that also include, for part of his authority, that he's an author that has this fun series. And he talks about like imagination and like being excited to make art and to dream up your own cool things. And then every kid in town that was at all of the schools in a district basically would go to his one book signing at a Hastings or Barnes and Noble or wherever, wrap around the block. Incredible. And a lot of other authors took that idea and have really benefited from it, and they've become more famous than him. Brandon Mull is one. And there are series that are really derivative of his series too. One time I stumbled across a total 11 Thumps ripoff. It was crazy. I forget what it was called, but it was like even the covers. One time I was dropping my kids off at school, and a kid at Halloween time, and a kid was dressed as 11 Thumps, one of the characters from Ron's book. I was like, that's amazing. But anyway, I don't really hear totally or care about that sort of thing. You have to be, have a social media following or whatever. I know that stuff is out there. I remember when McSweeney's was really a popular literary website, and my friend Stephen Usherman was told that in order for him to get this book publishing contract that he wanted, he needed to get a piece published in McSweeney's first. They were going to wait until then. What? There's always some dumb thing like that. But my whole key word for my book has just been unignorable. When the thing comes out, it's like a landmark. Like, that's barely even ego. That's just like the numbers. This book is a 2-volume, 60-chapter, almost 4,000-page, maximalist, multi-form, experimental, epic work. It's a Bildungsroman. It's a Wunderkammer. It's a Cornelian shadow box is really the thought that I think. I have 2 or 3 books on Cornell, though I don't currently have my favorite one, Dime Store Alchemy. Fun. Cornell's so cool. Though he's definitely got some I love more than others. Oh yeah, stuff. Oh, I love that doll one. That's great. And that one. Those are 2 of my faves. That one is like perfectly shelf maxed. I love how full those shelves are and how geometric and pretty and packed. It's visually interesting and varied the shelves get. They're all books about writing. I'm going to read them and become a super writer. I've read a bunch of them, but it's just people's opinions, unfortunately. But they help you. No, some are reference books too. And also, there's more than opinion. There's tried and true recipes here, I'm just going to pull some books off the shelf here and bring them over to where I can plug my phone in, because it's low. All right. Here are some more books from the bookcase for younger readers. And again, everything that's in my collection currently is a small percentage of what this collection used to be. But I think that means there's a higher likelihood that there's some really worthwhile reason that it stayed in the collection. And so these might be of interest. I don't know, me, I just like click on everything about anything. I'm like, when I'm on YouTube, I'm like, I kind of want to know about everything. They're all, here's these weird glasses you got at McDonald's when you were a kid. I'm like, okay, I'll watch a 2-hour video about those dumb things. I mean, I feel like a lot of life now is just like deconstructing all of life, and it's pretty wild. I guess that's very postmodern. Now we're metamodern. And what do these terms even mean? Metamodern is synthesis of both, the sincerity of modernism. But modernism was already deconstructing the sincerity of traditional stuff, so. And the fragmentary nature of postmodernism, the refractory. It's kind of interesting. It used to bother me when people would wear band shirts for bands they didn't even like and stuff. Like in the 90s, that would make you a super poser. Not a word that people use much anymore, even when they're recreating the 90s. But we use poser a lot. I don't think I just got that from my older siblings. But now things are being broken down to like, some people might not like the Rolling Stones, they just like their logo, which was designed by Andy Warhol, who would have loved this sort of deconstruction, but also maybe he's a curse upon the land and, he helped destroy art. No, I actually think what he's doing is very interesting, but it is like, it's a destabilizing and damaging sort of art. Like, so was Duchamp. I mean, it's crazy because it's liberating and opening. Everything is art. An artist has literally turned a plinth upside down and said, the whole earth is my art piece. That's incredible, in the 50s. The lightning field in Camado, New Mexico is 100 steel poles that get hit by lightning in a grid. So lightning is art. Though the creator has said that he didn't intend it that way. I mean, whatever. How could it not be? People aren't going out to stay in a house on a grant out there because it's not getting hit by lightning, you know? What's that artist's name? Walter de Maria? Walter de Jesus. Read a whole book on that thing. I've never been there, though. I've been really close to it. I've driven through Camado many times. The nearest town. Anyway, we are living in a material world. This is an amazing book. I love this book. I grew up reading and really loving this book. His book, The 21 Balloons, is a cult classic and has a real following. It was a huge influence on Davy Rothbart and Found Magazine, which uses 21 balloons in this book as motifs. Found Magazine, just just stuff that people have found of other people. Isn't this weird? Check it out. 21 Balloons is cool. It's kind of about a commune of artists and scientists, each with one letter from the alphabet, and they have an emergency escape plan that involves a platform and 21 balloons, and it's great. Look at one, the Newberry. And I was always check this one out from the library. Not a copy that looks just like this, but I was happy to get one myself. The drawings would have been the same. One of those cool artists that does his own art, I think. I mean, one of those cool writers that does their own visual art for their work. That's nice. A 1947 book, renewed. Yeah. I remember this one's really cool, and I really liked it, and I would check it out over and over again and read it many a time. This is the one that I owned, and the first one that I read, and it was always in bad shape, just like this. And didn't I ever tape it up or anything? I still could. I think it usually had this sticker of a bell on it. Oh, that is from an Austrian advent calendar when I was a little kid. Oh my... The author of the 21 Balloons. That's totally what that's from. That's crazy. That's new information unlocked in my brain. I remember advent calendars like that were cardboard. And they would have Krampus on them, sometimes the Christmas Devil, or Der Christkind, which was the flying manger baby throwing candy down to all the kids. I bet this reminded me of the song Klingglöckchen, Klingelingeling, Ring Bells Ring. Which was a great Austrian carol that I was always like, I wish we had that in America. Sometimes you hear music like that, you know. Like the Christmas songs I heard in the rainforest towns of Guatemala were also amazing. So this guy invents this antimatter, and he meets this young kid. Oh, the kid destroys his house he has a ball that bounces increasingly higher because it has a tiny bit of that stuff in it. And he destroys his professor's house and then agrees to help him pay it back by using this to pull cons on people and, trick them, or at least win contests for and magic shows and things. Things like, who can break this suitcase, or who can make a suitcase that is lighter than our suitcase but can't be stomped on by a strong man. Anyway, there's some really cool stuff. It's just called Peter Graves. And by Willem Pen Dubois. Oh, he also wrote 22 and 10. What's that book? 20 and 10, which is a historical fiction story of a school of kids hiding some Jewish students during World War II. And I have to say I was disappointed when I found out that was a fictional story. I read it growing up all the time thinking it was a true story. Can I still enjoy it? Maybe, but, Anyway, I like this book a lot. William Penn Dubois. I guess he's like a cool... Yeah, this one was an influence on me. Hey, that sticker means I had this when I was a kid, so I have to flip through it to see if I will ever find the lost Nolan Ryan rookie baseball card that I hid in one of the books of my childhood and then never found again. We lived in this house with all these missionaries, and so there were just like Mormons coming and going all the time. And one of them, I actually think it was like a visiting Mormon dignitary, gave me that. He had baseball cards in a collection. And I was like, you can have this one. But I think it was probably just one of the missionaries. And They told me it was actually worth a lot of money, but that they didn't care. They were just getting rid of all their cards or something like that. This story sounds fishy, but it's true. Somehow I got this dumb card, and it's plagued me the rest of my life. I'm not like some baseball fanatic, though I did recently watch and really enjoy the movie Field of Dreams, and now I want to read the book Shoeless Joe that's based on. Then I watched the whole director's commentary version, which was excellent. I never heard of this director, Phil Alden Robinson. And the way he raved about the book, I was like, I gotta read that. Good performances. That's a good movie. Really fun and interesting, and it's kind of like A Prayer for Owen Meany a little bit, where this character just knows like there's this destiny. I'm expecting a call, so I guess I'll just keep doing this until the video ends. I'll be in the middle of a sentence or something. I've never read this book. I've never read it to my kids. None of them have ever read it. However, I mean, as far as I know, my daughter Willow has watched this movie so many times. There's a movie version of it with Jodie Foster and I forget who. It might be Kevin Costner, honestly. Man, who plays the... Huh. But Willow really loves this movie, and I think it's great. And so I got it for her, and I was like, you should read it. And she never has. But it was in a free box, I think. But she loves that movie. That's like one of her core childhood comfort movies, I think. She still watches it. That movie Andre about a seal. Lots of animated movies. But I think Willow has great taste, honestly. I'm always like, you always like good stuff that actually has merit, and you like it for good reasons. One of her major reasons is just, are there animals in it? We were talking the other day about how Free Willy is actually a good movie, and you get to see this whale the whole time. This was a favorite of my daughter Anodyne when she was growing up. This is by Gail Carson Levine, author of Ella Enchanted. But if this ever gets an adaptation, I'm sure it'll be a big hit too. I know I read this to my kids once, but I don't remember it really clearly. But I remember Gail Carson Levine's general thing of taking fairy tales and kind of fleshing them out and expanding them into human stories. They're great. It's a good gig that she created, and it's a really interesting thing she does. And here's Ella Enchanted. That's not Anne Hathaway. Yeah, and that's one sad thing that a movie can do, is change how you perceive the book forever. But I think a good book takes over, and you kind of start forgetting about the movie here and there if you ever go back to reading it. Like, this is such a simple premise. It explains why Cinderella put up with her stepmother and stepsisters for so long. She had to. There was a curse. I forget the premise here. Dangerous quest. Oh, that's pretty cool. The two princesses go a-questing. And what interesting taste she had growing up. And she still has interesting taste. Now she reads like cool, like new, obscure French novels just recently in translation and stuff like that. And of course, Ottessa Moshfegh. But she also has read a lot of Sylvia Plath and all of Kay Redfield Jamison, basically, which is nonfiction. As a kid, she read this a lot. And she had the audiobook of it, which she would fall asleep with all the time. I think she listened to it a million times. I'm super fascinated by Salem, and I honestly think that it's a less damning story than Europe's history with witches. Like, it got shut down pretty quick. It was basically a PTSD response from Metacom's War, or King Philip's War, as people called it, and the evacuation of people from Maine, or Acadia at the time. All those traumatized white people went to Salem and the villages around it, and they had strange things happen. They might have been eating hallucinogenic ergot in their wheat also, and they might have been in a highly susceptible, religiously minded community, and they were doing bad at dealing with hearing about things like folk traditions and cultures and magic from Barbados and other places where slaves in that area came from. Porticheba was really like the worst. She never got released from prison after it all. So like the hysteria from it all died down, and they still let the one African American woman arrested just rot in these. And the prisons sucked back then. They were lawless filth pits, basically. Honestly, Puritans, what that? Not too cool that your prisons were so bad. But if that's the Shirley Jackson, here's another reason to own this. I could see that. She would be interested in Salem. Still, it's kind of blowing my mind. And this is one of the most critically acclaimed best-selling children's book series ever published. Landmark Books. Oh, cool. But like Europe killed thousands and thousands of witches in horrible ways. They burned them sometimes. Often. Thousands. Like, what's the number for the Salem witch trials over 2 years? 26? I mean, and they were all hanged. And as soon as it started happening, people were writing leaflets against it. Like, this is so messed up. You can't say spectral evidence. But as I've said before on this channel, my ancestors were all over this story. They were founding families of Salisbury, Massachusetts, part of the Great Migration of Puritans that came to the Boston area in the 1630s. My ancestor John Clough came to Charlestown, Boston, from Salisbury, England, in 35, but maybe it was like 1630. I can't remember. Anyway, super interesting story. Most of my ancestors were not negative factors in this story. They helped Mary Bradbury escape from Salisbury, and they all signed petitions to get her freed. And she was an ancestor of Ralph Waldo Emerson and Ray Bradbury, so good on my ancestors. Good job, y'all. They were apparently an okay bunch. John and Betsy Clough, who were my great times 10 grandparents and are commemorated by a stone where their cabin was in Salisbury now. They wanted their daughters to be educated, and their daughters went to all the same school that their sons did. And I'm like, that seems kind of like woke for the time, right? Even though school was probably just like religious indoctrination. But they were like a literate crowd too. The first books printed in English in America were from Puritans in Boston, like a collection of the Proverbs and an almanac. Anyway, yeah, kids' books collections are interesting too because you have nonfiction mixed with fiction. I suppose I could refine that into different cases, but you know, honestly, it's vestigial to even have a collection of books for younger readers. I guess a bit. I mean, I do care about these books, and I'm like a fan of them genuinely. I still love them, but I'm very not inclined generally to read books for younger readers on my own. I do feel like culture wants to infantilize us at every turn and keep us at more basic stages nonstop, and never destroy the cash crops of whatever we were interested in yesterday, you know? But also, I have young people in my life. I have 4 kids. My youngest daughter is still only 12, and maybe she'll read some of this stuff sometime. And just having it around makes you more likely to read and to be susceptible to reading. And turns out that she has read quite a bit through school. Like, she'll surprise me with what she's read in what chapter book she's read, and so on. But yeah, I could go off about Salem, and I just did. I bet that is the real Shirley Jackson. This is a famous series. Huh. Yeah, copyright 1956 by Shirley Jackson. Copyright renewed 1984. Wow. That's extra cool. Shirley Jackson wrote a book about the Salem witch trials. This is just one of the all-time modern classics for younger readers. There's no debating it. It's brilliant. This thing, the best ideas could be their own genres. Is what I always say. Dash Mike Smith. Michael Farrell Smith. But this book is intelligent and smart and interesting. It has the fantastical about it. Got great characters. It's got real redemption. It's got adult stuff in it. One of the kids' moms is a prostitute. I mean, it's all just there to be discerned, you know. I'm sure younger readers miss a lot of it. But it's got a fantastic premise. These kids at Punishment Park it basically to this horrible camp where they have to dig giant holes nonstop, and it quickly becomes apparent that the people having them dig the holes are looking for something. But then the chapters alternate with other times, in particular one other time, and that is such a Pulp Fiction game-changing thing to do in a book for younger readers, I think, and it totally works. No kids ever seem to mind. They all get it, but it's smart. It's really interesting, and I do think the movie that is based on this is an absolute classic, and I kind of like that it gave a better treasure, you know, like just added that. It's kind of a happier ending. Good old Louis Sachar also wrote the Wayside Stories books, which are amazing. And I know he wrote a number of other books that I read and laughed at and enjoyed growing up. But I mean, if he did nothing but the Wayside School books and Holes, that's a pretty impressive career for younger readers. That was a true Freudian slip of how I think. I think writing and reading are basically the same thing, you know? It's all connected. It's the world of words. Anyway, Holes. If you don't know it and you're looking for something basic to give, not basic. It's not basic. It's a masterpiece. It's an exceptional thing. It's a piece of clockwork machinery in children's book form. It's so neatly fit together, and it's just beautiful. It's kind of like Field of Dreams in that way. It's really this tightly plotted miracle. Oh, you're so cute, Sweet Pea. Everyone loves you. I already looked at this one in the stack of paperbacks of true books for young people, but here it is again. I remember reading it as a kid. Definitely had this one. Oh, that's amazing. Cedar Crest Book Exchange. That is the place I went to for about a year or two when it was there in the little town I lived in during my adolescence. And then it was gone forever. Now it's one of, I think, 2 books in the collection that still bear that stamp. Okay. I could really go off about this book. This book has been in my life ever since middle school. That's when I first read it, and come on, leave my water alone. She was sticking her paw in there and her whole head. Come on, that's not yours. You have water. You have a fountain. Do you marvel at the sound of an airplane, Sweet Pea? What do you think that is? Some human thing, probably. What? Leave my water alone, you wild ocelot. I'm pretty sure she already stuck her paw in there. Anyway, oh, this is already half an hour long. Okay, I'll finish on this one, maybe. This is based on the author's family history. She did have direct ancestors that lived on boats on the Mississippi and had beehives and sold honey up and down the river. And she based this on like her great-grandmother, I think. Honey Girl is based on the true story of a trip down the Mississippi River by Dorothy Stahman and her family in 1908. And the Stahmans are a really famous New Mexico family. They owned all the pecan orchards in southern New Mexico. And maybe they still do, I don't know. Yeah, and pistachio orchards as well. Because they have a giant... No, is that a pecan or a pistachio? I think it's a giant pecan made out of concrete in Alamogordo or Tularosa. World's largest. I wrote a short article on one time. Oh, you totally did put your paw in there. Come on. You have a fountain. I'm always paying for electricity for you to drink water. Planet is paying. Yours is just better. Anyway, this book, did it win the Newbery? It must have, because this is an early copy without all the Newbery fanfare on it. But I had to put on a play in middle school based on this in a class. Who was I? But the reason that this book is so near and dear to me is why I grabbed this copy when I saw it, I think at a library sale, is when I was, I think also in middle school, I was in high school, I think. But I was like 9th or 10th grade. And maybe it was 8th grade or 9th grade. Huh. Anyway, a gawky adolescent. My older brother Rob, aka Obert Sky, and we went to a writing class taught by Madge Hurrah. And she was a really interesting, high-energy person who had tons of celebrity anecdotes. Like, she was really good friends with Rod Serling, and we got so many great Rod Serling, the creator of the Twilight Zone stories, from her. But what was so funny, because it was a writing class, and this was her most successful book, she referenced this book all the time, and even more so in my memory, and my brother's memory. She'd be like, a good example of characterization was in my book, Honey Girl. Or a good example of this other principle was in my book, Honey Girl. And that became such a in-joke, family joke. Me and my brother Rob will still say that to each other. But then I told my kids about it because we'd always drive past this church where that writing class was. It's this very distinctive Lutheran church down by Albuquerque High School here in Albuquerque. Designed and built by Flatow and Moore, who, Moore at least, built the buildings of Manhattan Project. So that's kind of interesting. Oh, New Mexico. And anyway, so my kids grew up also laughing about that same joke. And that's funny. It's kind of funny when you have kids and your family lore becomes their lore and jokes too. Like when I was a little 5-year-old kid, I stapled my fingers together because I was a little stupid moron. And that became my daughter Willow's favorite story when she was 3 and 4. And when she turned 5, I got her a staple set, like I had gotten on my 5th birthday. And that was like the most hilarious family joke. It was really fun. Yeah, Honey Girl was another one that carried on intergenerationally. And I think I've heard the same from my brother Rob and his kids. Okay, I need to make a call. Just got a text. I'll look at these next time. Looked at these this time. Wow, what a great channel. No, but really, I mean, book channels, I don't know. There's just no reason. Maybe this whole channel is just like a meditation on futility. And why? That's not true. You know, I'm really thinking of the far future archaeologists here. People trying to piece together 2025. What went wrong 1,000 years ago? I don't know. It's like they were just making dumb videos instead of fixing stuff. They cared about this ancient barbaric practice called reading. But they didn't just eat their knowledge. I don't know. This is a channel with an ever ongoing identity crisis. I'm always like, why am I doing this? It's the old sunken cost thing, really, too. Like, well, you said you were going to describe your whole book collection. You should at least do all of that. Okay, so here's some more books from the collection for younger readers. We've got 3 or 4 more videos, probably, of that sort of thing. And then a shelf of picture books. All right, I'm going to make a call. Behold this glorious creature. The Waltz Thief. Still cleaning off the evidence. Drying it off her paw by licking it. Doesn't make any sense.